Hi, I'm Santhi, Ramesh, and I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for Innovators, most recently from the Hershey company. And as I say, nothing can beat chocolate and ice cream. Wells Enterprises are the makers of Blue Bunny, Halo Top, Bomb Pop. I see some nodding, so that's great. Our awareness campaigns are working, I see, and most recently, we have actually integrated with the Ferrero company. So back to chocolate again, along with ice cream. So now we have the goodness of both, ice cream and chocolate. And maybe some of my colleagues at Ferrero are also here, you might have seen earlier as well. So excited to be here and representing the Wells Enterprises. And in my role, I lead insights, marketing, innovation, and sales. So driving the insights all the way into a product, to a marketing campaign, into a store activation, and that's a marketer's dream. Right now we have the ability to influence the whole cycle.
I think one of the things that's interesting, Santi, because we met prior to this and chat a little bit, are the stepping stones, because you're doing just a couple things, right, across that ecosystem. But where did you begin to end up here?
So, as I joke, depending on the audience, I say I'm an engineer who came to the good side of marketing from the dark side. So I can say this to the good side of marketing to this audience, but to the engineering and manufacturing community, I say, hey, I went to the dark side of marketing, however we want to call it. I'm fortunate to have had experiences globally. Had the fortune to work in over 20 countries around the globe, launching products and campaigns, and lived in all the continents, except Antarctica, so I have to go there. Also fortunate to take risks and work in different industries. So worked in the supply chain, and IT industry. I was fortunate to work as a buyer at Walmart, and that gives a lot of credibility now on the sales side. Worked in food service, and of course in Hershey and Colgate. But what I would say is, rather than an experience that you can see on LinkedIn, let me talk about what really took me here, or as I reflected on this question. What I would say is curiosity. And I tell my daughter who's just graduated, it's like, be curious, learn new things, try out different functions, because all of those will come to fruition. And be curious to learn new trends, apply new trends and areas that you may not know. Second is, I would say, courage. And by that I mean the courage to ask questions, the courage to challenge the status quo, the courage to experiment, and be willing to try new things and test it out, even when there are obstacles. I know there was a conversation earlier on how do you influence people, how do you influence the data, but having the courage to keep persevering too, despite obstacles. And the third one I would say is the curiosity and the collaboration, the courage may not be acceptable if you're not able to collaborate, right? It takes a village to make things happen. As I say, it's easy to come up with an idea, but a whole lot of people need to come on board to make things happen. And the second thing I would say also is, it's not just about a pretty PowerPoint deck, it's about delivering results. Right? And we need a whole lot of people to deliver results and translate those strategies into action. And that leads to the fourth point, is to get the reputation that you can be counted on. And that is the most important thing, is over time when you are in a company, whether it's your manager, whether it's your peers, are you always the one that they can pick up the phone and say, hey Santhi, can you help me out here? Or Santhi, we need this project, can you get this done? This is the most challenging thing. That's when you get recognized, you are given that, they know that you will take the risks, you will, remove the obstacles to make things happen, and that's what's needed to get to grow in your career.
Perfect, thank you. One thing I'm curious about was, we're supposed to be talking again about a narrow topic of e-commerce and all the things that have been changing it. You can see our conversation is pretty wide-ranging because there's a lot to cover in that particular topic. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting in your past was that you wrote a thesis on a particular topic within e-commerce. All of those things are great, but there's this one thing everybody keeps talking about. I'm pretty sure we can all guess it, but it's AI. And so I'm curious from your perspective, all of these things that you're discussing, that is still something that keeps coming up that may be a friction point for some of those topics, might be something that smooths it out. So curious on your perspective on how that's impacting the current ecosystems, where we see it going, and also where it started, where it began.
Sure, that's a buzzword right now. But even though it's a buzzword, I was sharing with Kyle the other day, it's like, and I'm dating myself, even 30 years ago, that was one of my initial projects. It was the trend in talking about being curious and uncovering. It has been there for quite some time. It's now that the applications are being widespread and is becoming more commonplace. So from an evolution standpoint, I would say there are three basic areas within AI. One is about, more recently over the last 10 years, I can say, it was always been about predictive analytics and big data computing. So that's one set. The second set has been about robotics and leveraging robotics for automation. And now the third set, which is now more commonplace, is about conversational AI. How do you mine conversational AI as well as creative applications of AI? So those are the three areas of the evolution of AI. But where e-commerce, when it comes to e-commerce, that intersection happens, or I've seen most usage in the supply chain side for leveraging the data and computation, for data analytics, the inventory management, and the last mile delivery. But more recently, I'm proud of my team here who have been able to apply AI-based tools across the marketing funnel, whether it be for targeting consumers, for personalized communication, or for implementing and translating into conversion.
That's something that I want to drill in a little bit more on, because this concept of AI is this big job replacer and everything. You, especially to me, hit the point home that it is a tool right now. It's something that we can leverage. What's the word that you kept using? How is your team currently leveraging this data set, or this tool and application, other applications to help drive those results via e-commerce and across your ecosystem?
Yeah, so we talk about e-commerce, but I see this and I've defined my team as more an omni-channel team. It is a multi-channel team with multi-touch points. And my strategy and vision is to deliver a seamless experience to consumers, and how do we compress the path to purchase across channels. And that comes through identifying that person on a one-on-one basis, being able to target them and then message them and customize the messaging to that person and be able to drive that conversion very quickly. And before it used to take an hour, now it is minutes, because if that minute you're not able to target that person on Peacock and being able to grab them and drive them through an app into making a call through DoorDash, you've lost a person in that 1 minute. So that's what my team has been able to identify using modeling tools and being able to leverage customized messaging and then being able to drive them into the right conversion tool as appropriate. And we have used various AI tools through the funnel. It's not one tool, but a portfolio of tools that my team has been able to integrate within the organization.
And then through this ecosystem, this is everybody's question around this topic, but the measurement around all of that, right? Yes, of course, increased sales, but what sort of nuanced measurement KPIs are you looking for to say, hey, let's keep doing this, but more importantly, let's stop doing that?
Right. So it's twofold, right? At the end of the day, as a business person, I'm accountable for P&L. I have to deliver sales. If I don't deliver sales, then it's like, what is this hi-fi? What is this mumbo jumbo you're talking? I need sales, otherwise I won't get the investment that I need or the team that I need or to grow my team if I don't deliver sales. So that's bottom line. So that being said, and that bottom line sales metric is tied to an ROI. So it's tied to what are you investing in to get the sales that you need. So ROI is a key metric at the end of the day, and that's where the conversion happens. But then as we look through the marketing funnel, we have metrics across awareness, engagement, and conversion. And we track ROI as a whole ecosystem, but then within each of these, we have these awareness metrics, engagement metrics, click-through rates, etc., completion, video completion rates as appropriate, but ROI is important.
One of the things on the ROI conversation that we touched on as well is we went down this path of build versus buy that everybody's having right now, right? And are we CPG companies or tech companies, and where's the merge between that's happening right now? You had a very interesting take on that and how your team is constructed around that. So I'd love to hear you elaborate more on that.
Sure, and I will preface it first by saying we know that technology will always evolve. And that's one of the reasons I moved from technology to marketing, right? At the end of the day, consumers have a common mindset. So from a team standpoint, I rely on suppliers to help me deliver the latest technologies, the latest tools, because it is always something new is going to come up. What I'm looking for in my team is a commercial mindset combined with that curiosity, combined with the courage to experiment. And that combination and the commercial mindset, right, those three things, the curiosity, the courage, the commercial mindset, and that's what I'm looking for in my team, and I have that unique combination of people who have a good business savviness as well as good marketing functional competency and the good innovation. I call this digital innovation, and that digital innovation capability, and they are able to work with suppliers, bring new suppliers, and create an ecosystem of suppliers. And my team has been able to grow because they've been able to deliver results. So the team is able to deliver results, execute with excellence, and then as a result we grow, and because they're able to integrate the marketing competency with the commercial mindset by leveraging the ecosystem of supplier technologies.
And while your team is focusing on that ecosystem of MarTech, suppliers that are helping out, and again, they're specialized but broad in that approach as well. Where do you see the trend going in the e-commerce ecosystem? Because more and more retailers are trying to keep everything, the walled garden approach, that's opening up, it's closing, depends on who we're talking to on that approach, right? But what does that look like in this evolution from your perspective?
So I would say that all three areas are evolving, right? There is evolution in the whole data computation, and in terms of nano has become even smaller and smaller. So from a computing standpoint, there's evolution. There are various new applications of robotics. and I'll touch on one of them that my team has been able to implement. And then there's also the conversational or engagement AI tools that I'll also touch on. I'll give you two examples. One example that my team has been able to implement in Chicago, and I'm assuming most of us are from Chicago, we were able to leverage data, AI, and basically robots who were able to deploy 300 drones in Navy gear to have our brands show up on the sky and light up the sky on the skyline for 10 full minutes at Navy gear. So the team, we call it Our Perfect City is Chicago, and we lit up the sky using AI and robotics and had our brands and our products show up on the sky over Navy gear for 10 full minutes, all using robotics, right? So that's one example of applying artificial intelligence and connecting with our brands. And more importantly, it was not just about awareness, but we were able to drive it through a QR code to drive conversion and drive purchase at Joel. And I was like, 10, 7 minutes, is it going to work? And everybody was working on it, like, and it worked. And that was the big killer item, and my team is awesome, was being able to implement it. I mean, having a vision is one thing, but being able to execute it is a whole different game, and my team has stepped up and being able to translate it into action, and I'm proud of them.
Yeah, well, when we were talking about it, Santhi's like, I got this great video to send you. And so there's a video of it on YouTube. We can send it out afterward or whatever, figure it out, but it is fantastic. It's really cool to see that application in person, because when we talk about these things, we think it's all behind the curtain. It's all in the background, the code and bits and bytes. But to see the physical application into then physical purchases is pretty interesting to see. I'm curious from this, the consumer funnel that you are tracking and how you're managing that, using these tools and the teams. How much of it is, again, first-party data using, they're relying on your customers. You have, again, a wide reach in terms of what your focus is, but people are going to end up where they're going to end up to make a purchase. How are you measuring those different channels across customers, across yourselves, to then loop it back into this creative mindset and utilizing this other technology to keep that funnel going?
Yep. And again, I am actually aligned with the earlier statement that was made in the previous session. We in CPG can rely a lot on our customers to get the data. And we have integrated data through IRI and Nielsen with our systems and be able to get sharp measurements across the channel, but relying on the integration of data with actually even consumer data on a one-on-one basis. So I would say, again, data is an I would say there are multiple data sets that need to be integrated through the marketing funnel. One, there's a consumer data that we have nationwide that we can uniquely target on a one-on-one basis. Second, there is engagement data that we get from various platforms. And third, we have conversion data from our customers or from the IR organizations. And then we have our own data, which is our shipments, our inventory. So the key challenge is how do we connect all of these through unique identifiers? And that's what the team has been able to build a model. And of course, with everything, there's got to be interpretations, right? And that is the art and science, which is where the human mind and us as marketers add value. So it's not just all about AI, but that is where the interpretation of the data and also the connectivity of the data, where we as engineers, marketers, and data scientists need to be able to integrate together, and that's what the value that we provide.
You said it best, what we talked about before, is that the leveraging of AI is focusing on time-tested, repeatable things right now. Is there a world where eventually that might be a little bit different? Sure, but that's hopefully too far away for us to think about it. But what if it's not? So like over the next 5 years in the digital landscape, what you've, the way you and I talked about it was there's this kind of bumpy path that you've gone through to get where you're going, but there's this through line to really seeing where things were, where they are now, where they're going. From your perspective and your expertise, the next 5 years in the e-commerce space, what is going to be the focus? What's the main thing teams should be focusing on and driving toward?
Sure. Tell everyone, even if you're in marketing, the first thing that you need to do, take an Excel class. Be comfortable with it, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's all about data, and be comfortable with the data, and the one who knows the data in and out, and can know the numbers top of mind, they are going to be successful in influencing the leadership. That being said, data is compounding. There's more and more data available, and as more and more data becomes available, it's making sense out of it. So AI can help with the prediction, but you still need data scientists. And second, going back to the interpretation, I go back to application of it, right? Somebody needs to provide the business mindset. Somebody needs to be able to put the inputs into to work the model, right? So there's a lot that AI can help us with. And going back to the repeatable task, it will help us reduce the inefficiency that we have. It will help reduce the churn that we have in doing the over and over repeatable tasks, so that we can invest our time and effort into value-added perspectives. So allows us to focus and take us to the next level. So as I look at the future generation, I mean, those kids who are born with iPads, the minute and are playing with the iPads, they're going to be working the whole different game. And talking about a game, what's happening right now, tweens and tweens are on gaming all the time. They spend hours on games. And I know we as marketers need to leverage that. And I see what's happening right now is not just personalizing creative messaging to these audience, but also how do we personalize gaming depending on what gaming platform these teens and tweens are. So case in point, we tested and learned recently, and how many of you know Bamba? Very few. Surprise, which is good, because it targets the tweens. So, but it's a nostalgic brand, so I'm glad to hear that. It has been there forever. So, Bamba has about 25% awareness, and we targeted the teens, and we said we were going to play in the Roblox arena, and we created a gaming environment, and within the first week in the Roblox environment, we sold more bomb pops than the #1 sold item, which is cheeseburger, in a cafe environment. So imagine the impact of engagement. So this talks to the engagement factor that we are able to generate when we are in the gaming environment. So the key story here, or message here is test and learn new areas, specifically in the gaming world, because that's where the future consumer is. So know where the future consumer is, test and learn new areas where they are, and that's a way to drive increased engagement and awareness.
Awesome, fantastic. We got a little bit of time, so we'll open it up for some questions.
Hi, Santhi. My question's around, you mentioned a little bit about data gives you such a great base in which you can make deterministic decisions about where your business is going to go, but that the marketers bring this human sort of touch, this human value. So I wanted to know if there's, in your experience, there's been a time where the data has actually said one thing, and you have made a decision, or your team has made a decision to not follow the data, and what that has looked like.
Absolutely. So many times. And one of the things that I believe, and studying at the University of Michigan, my statistics professor used to say, that data does not speak for itself. You have to interpret and apply what it tells you. And depending on the context, the implication could be different. Depending on the objective. Is it, when you look at a 5% plus, for example, out of a test, is 5% good or bad? Is it good for ROI, yes, or is it good for ROI? Right? Is it good for Walmart, or is it good for Kroger? I mean, I'm just asking all of those questions. So all of those questions is what the business person needs to be thinking about and putting it in. And that could change over time. Yes, we can have the model work it based on the inputs, but somebody has to provide the inputs and set the context for it. And decisions are also based on what is the business priority at the time and what is important. Is it a long-term strategy? Is it a short-term strategy? Or short-term need? And that is a balance, and only that the business person can make. I might be willing to invest more in the short term so that I get a long-term return. Only if the business financials allow me to do so. So that will vary depending on the context, the situation, and what my business needs are. And I might vary that by brand. I might decide to do it on one brand where I have a strategic priority, where there's a small brand that I'm investing to grow, where I might say I'm not going to apply that logic for an established brand as a cash out, right? So that's where we have to have a strategic priority, and the data will tell you XYZ results, but the business person has to make the decision based on the commercial need.
Yep.
Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So I want to go back to earlier in the session. First of all, props on the alliteration of curiosity, courage, collaboration, count on me, and commercial mindset. I counted 5 C's there. That's a lot of characteristics to try and find someone and hire for. Which of those is actually the hardest thing to find when you're trying to bring new people on your team?
Courage. And I'm fortunate to have found quite a few over my time. And all of these, the courage is most often the fault of the manager, in my mind, and the environment. And it is the job of the manager to allow that courage to flourish, to give room for, given and provide an environment for the team to feel safe to fail. Provide an environment where the team feels safe to speak up. And I'm fortunate in my group, like, you have to build the trust, right? We need to have the trust to say, yes, this I agree with you, this I don't agree with you, but please continue to speak up and bring new ideas in. So courage can be developed, and I see a lot of people, it's just providing that environment. And the other thing that I would say is commercial mindset from an end-to-end perspective. Early on, the commercial mindset has to be developed and grown over time. So these are all, the curiosity is one. So I would say the curiosity is the only thing that I would say is something that cannot be trained. All of the others can be trained.
All right, thanks everybody. Thanks, Santhi.